Hello, family. This is another edition of the Triple Option presented by Tomahawk Nation. We're all here. What a weekend. Yeah, I can see my hair's wet. This isn't like a stylistic choice. I didn't pretend like I was like Triple H coming out to the ring and dumping a bunch of water on my head. My infant daughter threw up carrots and milk like all over my person 5 minutes before we recorded. So I had to take an emergency pre-triple option shower, which I find to be very fitting because Florida State got drunk on Papa John's pizzas and barfed all over themselves on Saturday afternoon in a 48-16 loss, brings them to 2-4 on the season, a game where the question heading into it, what was Florida State's response going to be after a top 5 win at home? We were smashing bricks. Everybody was feeling good about themselves. Kirk Herbstreit was saying nice things about Florida State. How could they respond? The answer was pitiful. They responded. They didn't respond. There was no response. Zero response given. It was awful. I'm going to let these guys, we're going to get into the film and just show you exactly why it was awful, how it was awful. But my synopsis of the game, just briefly, I thought Florida State played much worse as the game went on. I felt like at the beginning, like the first quarter, there was a lot of self-inflicted mistakes, a big drop from Jordan Travis. I mean, we scored on our first drive. They scored. There was a lot of drops. There were still some procedure penalties, mistakes on defense, such as having a 5-yard loss, not having the proper rush lane integrity, and then giving up like a 70-yard touchdown. Now from there, Florida State got smashed. I started to feel like they did against that Notre Dame game where I started to feel like the defense was getting bullied. I thought the secondary was atrocious this game. I thought they got eaten up. Malik Cunningham had very easy throws. They had easy runs. And the mistakes that plagued us in the first quarter got worse. This was the worst, and I know Tomahawk Terry's out. This was the worst performance by the Florida State wide receivers by orders of magnitude for me. So many easy things that were given up. And then you compound that with Jordan Travis's health. He wasn't really a direct threat in the running game like we've normally seen. We found out that he was hurt afterwards. So Florida State, through injury and more through their own awful play, really kneecapped themselves. So like I said, I thought they kind of got a little bit unlucky in the first quarter and did not respond to that adversity well. And then I think Louisville just beat them into the ground. It was, for me, the most disappointing performance of the year, particularly where this team is at in this point of the season. Now, Adam, I'm going to go to you first because we talked about this earlier. And you said, Trey, try to hone me in. I'm the level-headed, smart football guru. Don't let me get too emotional out there because I'm a little mad. Well, guess what, buddy? We're going to let you be the football guru when we break down the film. Breathe some fire, dog. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not feeling very good. This was the first time I felt like I was watching a Willie Taggart tenure coach football team.
Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, Wolf is right, and I didn't think it was possible. I thought that at least as far as organizationally and accountability and those kinds of things, I thought they'd made a lot of major steps forward. But this was 18 steps backwards into like 2018. The personal fouls continuing, the missed tackling continuing, the missed assignments continuing, and it's by the same guys over and over again each week. I think they're to a point here heading into this bye where it's time to start firing people, and wins be damned. I mean, you need to take control of this program. And I kind of thought that they had. I can't remember if we talked about it here or not, but I really have felt like Norvell had taken control of this locker room, but it's quite apparent just from Saturday that's not the case, and it's disappointing to see. We want to trust the process, but man, there was no process.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I muted the old mic there. There was no. I'm so fired up. There was no trust. There was no process on Saturday. And I've been Adam Fuller's biggest advocate, but damn, if this can't continue, it can't continue, or you're gonna lose a fan in me because we're on a historic pace to be one of, I think, the worst defense Florida State's ever had, and they need to evaluate every game this week and decide, okay, this kid can play, this kid can't play, and maybe we'll get into that in a little bit later, who we think needs to be hired and who needs to be fired. But this has got to stop, and it's got to stop right now, or else your tenure is going to be in big trouble.
I agree. In the cultural rot, like we said, we talked program defining win, turning point, inflection point, all those like fun little cliches that everybody says when we think that the ship's going to change. The Titanic still hit the iceberg. The cultural rot is deep. And I'm with you, Adam, as far as like the defense is concerned. I think Louisville had like 9.5 yards per play on the day. It's bad. And there was a lot of benefit of the doubt given, particularly from people like me. I actually liked the Adam Fuller hire. I liked a lot of stuff that he did. I liked his pedigree. I liked the results that he had that were instant. But as this year kind of continues to go on, and not the excuses, because they're not excuses, they're legitimate reasons, the COVID-19 pandemic, the lack of the spring practices, all these other things, I'm going to start looking at these games more with a critical eye, because if the progression's not there, and if there's things that I feel like can be cleaned up that haven't over and over again, you really have to start taking a really, really tough look at the coaching. You got this bye week to try to iron some things out. So I'm with you there, Adam. Now, Kev, what was I don't feel like you get fired. You're just a cool cat. You're a cool guy. But you can get mad if you want. Like, were you mad? Were you disappointed?
Yeah.
Give me the mind of Kevin Little.
So fortunately, I had a wedding to go to, so I only got to watch the first quarter live, but I got to catch up. I was catching up as it was going on, and man, if I've seen a football game in the past 20 years that looks like a middle school football game, it was this one. Like on so many levels, not even from Florida State. Like Louisville ran outside zone, they ran inside zone, they ran a boot action off outside zone, and that's basically 90% of the plays they ran. Like if you showed up and went to Leon County Middle School, I don't even know what it's called, and watched their middle school football game, they probably called more offensive concepts than Louisville had to call to put up 9 point whatever points per game on Florida State. So was I happy with the performance? No. Am I on the we should fire Fuller train tomorrow? No, that's ridiculous. That's short-sighted. Do I think that his current, what he's trying to do on defense doesn't fit our personnel at all? I think that's true. I think he asks a lot for his safeties to come up and run fits.
They are bad. The safeties, we'll get into it. I thought they were abysmal. I really do.
There's one guy on the team that might be the worst defensive player to ever get as many snaps as he's gotten.
And we gave him credit last week.
Freaking borderline 5-star. And I'm having arguments with my buddy who sees his recruiting ranking and says that he's still good, but he's the reason why this defense doesn't work. I said it last week when they played North Carolina. When Jaden Lars-Woodby actually plays football, it's successful for Florida State. When Jaden Lars-Woodby decides he wants to play patty cake with the back of a linebacker, Florida State's going to get whipped every single time because Fuller asks for his secondary to make tackles. And if his secondary doesn't want to make tackles, then we're not going to make tackles. Like, they're going to run for 70 yards against us all day. And he's not the only one. He's not the only soft safety. I think it's because of his recruiting ranking that he gets we watch him and we think that he should be better than this.
Right. And he's a good kid. The off-field, the intangibles, the story of his recruitment, all of that. However, he was
never
bad.
Want to hate on just one kid.
Right. Raymond Woody was bad. The entire unit was bad. The entire secondary was bad. And that's interesting you say that. Now, that is kind of a dichotomy between Adam Fuller and Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell every year is very adaptable to the players that he has. Adam Fuller so much like, hey, this is the defense I'm going to run. I've always been successful. I'm going to ask you to do to it. Now, there's going to be some critics of that. However, when you're in the establishing culture stage of Florida State, you're cultivating a mindset, you're cultivating an identity. This is the defense we're going to play at Florida State. Safeties, I know touching people and contact makes you sick to your stomach, but you got to do it. You got to tackle. So are these the lumps? Are we going to see some adjustments? Now I'm interested to see, and maybe we can get it. I want to get right into the film, but I am interested to see after a performance from the defense's performance against North Carolina, where they had a different personnel scheme. They were in nickel. I thought the run fits were much tighter. They went back to kind of the more traditional scheme personnel setup that they'd been playing in the previous games against an offense that is effective in Louisville, but does not do as much exotic stuff, in my opinion, as North Carolina does. And they were completely way more unsuccessful. So we'll get into that when we get into the defensive film. But to me, that's interesting. It's like I don't know if you run that style of defense that you played against North Carolina every week, and you take whatever cons come with it. But we can't be playing defense like I'm with you, Adam. I'm with you, Kevin. And I was wrong. That was a good. You got some fire in that belly. I like that. But no, you can't play this defense. You can't play this type of defense every week if you want to win or if you just don't want to get fired. So let's get into the film, or if you got some more stuff, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. We can talk about it when we're in the film. I just the mindset of defense, like every defense asks for secondary to fill. Like that's not a novel concept to Adam Fuller's defense. Like I've seen people out there like, oh, he's from the Mike Elko school, and they're going to do it their way.
Yeah, what an awful school! One of the best defensive coordinators in the entire country. What a terrible pedigree.
We've seen him run a 3-man front. We've seen him run a 4-man front. We've seen him go man. We've seen him go zone. Like the dude's clearly trying everything.
That's fair. Okay, that is fair.
At some point, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken. Like everybody's gonna say, well, Big Marv, and look, that dude scored 60s in the PFF for a reason. Like, come on, all right, whatever.
No, you're right.
No, I like that point. Yeah.
For the people that are like Fuller plays too much zone, guys, we got annihilated in man this week. We get annihilated in a 3-man front. We get diced up in a 4-man front. We get punched in the face in zone. We get kicked in the wiener in man. It does not matter. We are bad all over the place, and we're going to show you why. Let's get into the film.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is good, though. All right, Adam. Describe what's going on here from a defensive perspective.
Yeah, so they're gonna be in a 6-man pressure. They have a 1-down look, but really there's a three linemen there. 2 of them are just standing up, and then you got Warner, Gaynor, and Lundy walking around. They're doing some of that. I don't know what you call it. We've seen it from time to time that just kind of they're walking around trying to be confusing. And we saw some of this last week against UNC. Some of this 3rd down pressure package. So they're trying to find guys that can get to the quarterback. I mean, they're trying the hardest they can because they can't get there with these defensive ends. They're in cover 1, so there's going to be 1 high safety, and they're manned across the board. You're going to see Jarvis Brownlee in the slot up top, who had a great. Good. Do you want to say something, Trey?
Yeah, just down and distance for everybody. Florida State's up by 7. They got Louisville to a 3rd and 8. This is where you want to be on the road. This is how they're going to respond.
Yeah, it's Louisville's first drive. I mean, Florida State came out and played their run real well on 1st down. They tackled a ball at the line of scrimmage on 2nd down on a quick throw out in the flat, and then you come back 3rd and 8, and the energy's high. I mean, they're jacked. They're flying around. You just scored. And, yeah.
Okay.
So they're in man coverage here. First off, the effort by Woody. I mean, it's crystal clear he needs to go join his dad down at FAU, in my opinion. And I don't want to call kids out, but I'm going to do it here. He
had a rough game. He had a rough game.
It was not a good day for him. Jarvis Brownlee, who locked down some good receivers last week. I mean, this is a horrible backpedal. I don't know what this backpedal is. He's just toast. He's giving up the middle of the field. And again, they're bringing pressure because they have to, because they can't impact the quarterback with just 4 guys. And what jumped out to me the most was I thought this was actually a good blitz, and I think they had a chance to get Cunningham off his mark. But watch DJ Lundy. Watch him take on this running back. He tries to lay it to go around. If he goes through this kid, I think he can put him in. He can put Hawkins in Cunningham's lap, and this ball never gets thrown.
Yeah, that's pretty weak for a middle linebacker.
And he's a far more physical kid than that.
He loves contact. He's one of the few that enjoys contact. Yeah, that's right. He's a wrestler.
So I have a question for you. My thought pregame was I want Asante Samuel manned up on Tutu, because all year we've seen Asante have to play against big wide receivers, big number one wide receivers, and this was the first game that we have an opportunity to see him against a smaller, quicker guy, and he might have a shot. Why do we see their best player lined up on a nickel corner?
I mean, it's a valid question. I think that it's one, obviously, in hindsight, they probably wish a decision they wish they hadn't made, and they did after this go start putting Asante on Atwell more. I mean, but you're coming off a game where Brownlee really was pretty locked down. I mean, he really played fairly well last week against receivers that are equally as talented as Atwell, in my opinion. I mean, the Newsome kid, those guys are studs too. And he held his own in similar situations. So it's like, you need to show some faith in the kid, right? I mean, I understand that you want to put Asante on him, but he just coming off of a great game last week where, you threw this package out there and he's locking guys down. At some point you have to say, okay, we're going to give this kid a chance, and it burned him. But I mean, hindsight's 20/20.
Right.
Would I have put Samuel on him? I don't know. I don't think I probably would have. I mean, I think I probably would have run my scheme because it worked last week, and you're hoping that they're going to come out and give a similar effort, and they just didn't. I mean,
try to instill some confidence in your younger defensive backs.
You have to show some faith at some point in some of these kids that you're wanting to build around for the long term. That, hey, we believe in you. We believe in the situations you can go out there and win, and he just didn't do it.
Now, Kevin, my question to you: I feel like Florida State's defensive backs have given up inside position throughout the entire year. Now, obviously, that post that's just open for business, right? There's just no rerouting. There's no contact. We just give up the inside too easy. Now, is that what they're supposed to do? Are they supposed to guard against like a play up the seam? Or are we supposed to take away the inside first? I mean, you guys know Adam Fuller's defense better than I do, but I just feel like receivers get inside release on us whenever they want it.
My guess is in man coverage at this level, you're not going to be able to just, unless you've got a complete stud at cornerback, you've got to maybe prefer one side over the other.
Right.
You can't let him get beat the whole way. My guess is that because he knows he's got safety help here in the middle, maybe you can see that his hips are turned, and same down here, their hips are turned to allow the outside pass. So I don't know if that's just because they know that they kind of have safety help in the middle, and they're hoping that Woody can come down and help if there's any sort of in-breaking routes. I don't know if that's what they're coached to do, but I mean, I agree with you. It's for a quarterback in college, like Cunningham's not going to make this 10-yard pass on third down at the sticks.
That's tough.
All the way across field.
Take away the easy stuff, in my opinion. So I don't know if they're, like I said, you kind of have to pick your poison. Pick the worst poison. Pick the tougher poison to swallow, right? I just feel like we don't at all.
And I just don't. I don't know why the free safety is 40 yards downfield. I don't.
But if you look at alignment at the beginning of the play, you can see Brownlee's lined inside him, so he's clearly trying to take the inside away. I just think it becomes a technique issue, and Atwell just gets on him so fast, and his back pedal is really it's really lunky and just kind of, I don't know, it's real sloppy. It's not great, and it's certainly not fluid to where he's going to get out of it and drive on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
let's hit the next one. Like you said, we don't know what it's tough because the technique is so poor and the execution is so poor that a lot of times it's hard for us to break down exactly what's going through everybody's minds and what they're calling. But it was bad, yeah. But like you said, no penetration, a soft blitz, poor technique, no help over the safety. You've got breakdowns at every single level, and you take a 3rd and 8 away at the beginning of the game that you're leading, and it goes for a big gain, and you just get it annihilated later. All right, Kev, what do we got here, bud?
So this is, I believe, an outside zone here. So the running back's going to be tracking outside, and we've got actually a pretty nice run blitz called here. So we've got Akeem Dent coming off the edge, and they're not even going to block Robinson here. So he's also coming off the edge. you'd expect one of these guys to kind of keep contain. They get suckered in by the fact that Javian Hawkins here is actually a complete stud. So that's something else I kind of wanted to touch on. The fact that I feel like, yeah, we should ring the alarm bells on some level, but I also feel like this isn't I don't want to be an apologist here because I think this was awful, but I think Louisville's athletes being small and quick in general we just don't have anybody to match up with that. But that's not an excuse for this. This is just garbage. And he did the same. Hawkins did the same exact thing against Miami. Trash. Like, he did the same thing. You know that he's looking for this. Like, this is on film. I can show you where he did this exact, like, little turnaround. You know it's expected. You have to keep that contained. What are you doing?
The angle's so poor, and there's just nowhere in it. Their heads are down. I don't like it. Like, it's almost inconceivable that they think that this kid could hit a cutback. Now, it was the kid's a great running back who saw all day, and it's a solid move, and it's very athletic. But Adam, this angle makes it even worse for me.
Nobody clears the quarterback. What the?
Oh, you're gonna do it twice.
Nobody clears the quarterback. I mean, what are you doing?
Now, when you say clear the quarterback, what do you mean there?
The quarterback's booting. Nobody checks him. If he keeps the ball, he's scoring.
Right. Yeah, two people could score here.
Look, send Akeem Dent to FI, whatever. Send him there too. Like,
but he's a 5-star AB.
I don't care.
He's a
Atlantic
12-star
International. You don't care.
Guess what?
35-star.
Guess what? He was trash last year at safety. He couldn't catch the ball. He's trash at corner this year. I'm trying. I don't want to bury players. That's not fair. It's not fair. I shouldn't call him trash.
He's a much better football player than I ever was.
This is a trash product, and he should be ashamed of himself. It's a trash product right there.
It's a bad play, and it's particularly egregious when you talk about nobody checking the potential of a booting Malik Cunningham. Like Kevin said, this is Herman Boone, and remember the Titans. They run 3 plays over and over and over again, and like Novocaine, it's going to wear down. It's going to work. It's the zones, and then you got boot action, and we were befuddled. They were befuddled. I think that, and maybe I'll talk to you about this first, Adam, then get to Kevin. Now, there was penetration from the defensive line, as you can see here. Now, with outside zone and inside zone and things like that, some of that's kind of like designed to – in my opinion.
Yep.
Do you think that the defensive line was falling in love? Like, hey, we're getting penetration, and it wasn't really principled penetration, in my opinion. Not like just they were so happy that they were getting through, they didn't really think of what they were supposed to be doing. I'll go Adam first, then Kevin.
What I think the D-line lacks is they don't fight pressure. So, yeah, penetration's great. Penetration's fine. Like, there's no bad penetration on an inside or outside zone play. The problem is when you allow that offensive lineman to continue to watch you basically wherever they want to take you to. So, like, we can see it when it starts back up. Like, Marv does a good job here, but like, see that O lineman's got his hand in his back and he's kind of
they're gone. Yeah, you're gone.
He's got to feel that pressure and he's got to fight that pressure. Like Durden, I think, does a good job here. He's kind of working. He's got good hand play with this guard, I believe it is. So what kills them later is they start getting cut, and it's just the end of the day. But yeah, I mean that's probably a good question. There's no bad penetration, but what happens is when you start just letting them ride you out of the play, that's when we have problems. And
wait, hold on, Trey. I think I've got another clip that kind of shows these problems. So let's.
Segue. I didn't even mean. Yeah, and I'm with you, Adam. Like, there's one thing they just too passive to go against the flow of the play when you know you've got a running back with great vision and who's good at cutbacks. Yeah. Now, Kevin, why does this? Let me see this segue. What do we got here?
So, let's look. This is Robinson. He's supposed to be setting the edge here, and instead he flies outside, which makes these gaps even bigger. There's no resistance here from him. That makes these holes impossibly big to fill. It just makes life harder on these linebackers. So we want to sit here and be like, man, these linebackers and even these safeties is like, man, what are they doing? But there's no resistance here. Like, if you're setting this edge, come up hard and make this box smaller for this running back. They want you to run to the sideline. That's like, they're okay with that.
and this might be stupid. I don't feel like there's any constriction in the running game. I feel like there's just a lot of like they flow out very easily. They never kind of like they don't press the holes. They don't compress the line. They don't make the holes tight. The holes are so big that I'm a big unathletic mustached idiot. I'm getting at least 12 in that kind of hole. I'm getting 12 yards in a cloud of dust.
So this is one of those weird ones. They're trying to fold but oh man. So
Adam, what do you see? What did you think about Louisville's offensive line? There was some talk of like Louisville's offensive line. I mean, they run two plays, so obviously they communicate well together. But this isn't a Notre Dame level line, but they had Notre Dame level results against Florida State in the running game.
Yeah, well, I think there's a common denominator there.
And
Florida State's defensive line is doo-doo. I thought that Louisville played. I mean, I thought their line played well. Obviously, with the results are the results. I said going into the week, I thought the left side of their line was really good, and I really felt like it kind of played out like that. When they had their most success, it was when they were getting that one tech down on the backside, and just gashing plays. A play like this, like.
Lundy's dead in the water. The lineman gets such a free release on the linebacker. Yeah. The hole's huge.
Third down
Lundy's
too.
Dead.
You know what's happening.
Third and one.
It's third and
one.
But look at Marv. So Marv gets chop blocked here. Like I can't believe that doesn't get called. So he's getting high load. He's got a guy in his ankles and a guy up top on him. Like that's a chop block. They had called it earlier in the game. I don't know why they didn't call it here. So
go ahead. Sorry.
They got J-Rob in a full technique. He's supposed to be looping inside here.
So this guy goes high and this guy goes low. And so you can see that.
Yeah. Like Dent's coming off the edge, and it's a half behind effort coming off the edge. But he's a corner taking on a fullback. Like I get that somewhat. This was a little bit of a good call and against a look I'm guessing they anticipated they were going to get here. But man,
Florida State's defensive line, how do they hold up against like cut blocks in general? Because obviously the way to deal with that is to like use active hands, things like that, awareness.
Horribly, we don't use our hands. I mean, time and time again. Fabian Lovett, I mean, he was on the ground over and over and again throughout the game. I mean, we just did not use our hands.
Is that a 2020 specific issue, or has this been kind of like a hallmark of a Florida State Odell Hagen's defensive line? Like, is this a systemic issue, or is this just a year like everybody sucks, so this is just a new way for our defensive line to suck?
I can't answer that question intelligently. Honestly, I can't say that I've ever paid enough attention to it in the past to say, this has always been an issue. I mean, there might be somebody out there that can. I wish now that I'm going to go back and look at some film to see, but it was
Florida
definitely
State, Georgia Tech. Watch some old Georgia Tech games.
Oh, God, yeah, guys getting their kneecaps blown out. But it was certainly an issue this week, and the rate at which they were off the ball before we were out of our stance was incredible to me. I felt like Louisville was into us before we were even out of our stances.
Kev, before we move on, safety help on this play. Would-be misses a tackle there. Does he take himself out of the play before it even begins? Look, I just feel like there's like very slow to react to this obvious running play that they've done the whole time. There's nothing to be fooled about.
When I was talking earlier, I was talking about this guy, and I was thinking of this play when I was talking about him.
Oh, I didn't even know. It's just like I said, I'm a moron, and it stood out to me.
And it's just like, like no one else is doing their job, so it's like,
right.
I'm hoping that the safety in this circumstance is coming up and making a big tackle. And honestly, this is where my thoughts of like, it doesn't feel like our personnel fit. Like, we need a safety that's willing to tackle somebody. Like, we need a safety. Like, I actually think he's not bad in coverage. I've seen him in coverage. I think he's not a total liability there when he gets faced against slot receivers. But he is not the kind of guy. Like, it was almost like Louisville knew, hey, this is 3rd and 1. We're going to have a free gap because this guy's not going to fill it.
We're going to eat. Like, they'll run at him, and it's funny because 6 has a hard time of stopping the run, and Raymond Woody got eaten up in coverage all day. I feel yesterday on Saturday. So it's all bad. But yeah, on this, there's just no.
But that's what this scheme
3rd
does
and 1.
for you.
It's a
from
3rd
Louisville,
and 1.
right? Like he's worried that there's going to be some crosser coming over the middle that he's going to miss. And so that's why he's a little bit slow. But at this point, you almost have to commit,
If you can't read and react against the team that does three things, like if that doesn't hit mentally, we're like, okay, this is what that is. This is play number 2. This is outside zone. This is bootleg. This is that. Like if you couldn't trigger against Louisville, even though they do everything well, that speaks very poorly on the defense, and that makes me lose a lot of any optimism that I built up, because still mentally the reactions are not there on a 3rd and 1.
But also, this is the first time they're seeing outside zone run pretty much all year. Miami doesn't run it. North Carolina doesn't run it.
Okay, that's a good point. That's
Notre Dame runs it occasionally. I don't remember if Jacksonville State runs it. So if they have seen it this year, they've seen it sparingly. And you can see from Notre Dame to North Carolina, who are both heavy gap teams, you see a huge difference in how they played the counter, right? We talked counter. Yeah. They sucked against Notre Dame, and they came back and they were a lot better. And so maybe this is some sort of an indicator of like, man, these guys just haven't seen this. They don't know how to play it. And maybe this is something we can watch to see if it gets better like the counter did the next time they saw it. But I still feel like at this level, you should be ready for outside zone.
It's tough, man, because this is – and, Adam, I see you rubbing your head because, I mean, this is what Louisville does. So I do understand the point of they haven't seen it live, and they've shown that they'll get beat up the first time a team does it, then they improve. But, I mean, this is what Louisville's going to do. So I agree. We'll see if they play it any better, but they should have played it a lot better.
Exactly. It's not an excuse.
Yeah, no, but that's good nuance. So
It just raises a lot of micro and macro style questions in my head. Like, what are the issues here? I don't know. There's so many. This is Adam Fuller's fault. This isn't Adam Fuller's fault. It's scheme fault. It's player's fault. There's so many damn things going on here. Like it is a mess.
Yeah, and it's tough because the real answer is
all the
real answer is all of it. It's honestly the thing that's more interesting conversation is what percentage is each. Like who's causing it the most. All right, to Adam, let me see what you got going on here.
Yeah, so remember, last week when they went on all this nickel stuff and got Amari Gainer off the field, and they've talked about like we got to get him on the field and do all this stuff. Like,
a good point. Yeah, let's talk about the personnel for this game as far as like the personnel strategy.
Yeah, so they knew they wanted to get Gainer back on the field, and some of that was because Louisville plays with a little bit heavier personnel than what UNC did. UNC played a lot of 4 wide or they ran a lot of different trips looks and stuff like that, and that's not what Louisville's built around. You knew that they wanted to run the football, so they decided to go a little bit more of that heavy nickel with Gainer at the stud linebacker position. And I've kind of talked about it on here some. When he slides inside, he's just not as comfortable. And I'm not sure, like, defensive ends a fit. Like, they feel like they need to get him on the field. I watch this play, and I'm like, why? Why does he need to be on the field if this is going to be a result? He's standing still at 5 yards, pity-patting his feet. The fullback's up into his chest, and it's just like, I could probably find somebody else to do that. I could probably ask Brownlee to do that and keep him on the field the whole game and match up better throughout the course of the game. So this was disappointing for me to just kind of see out of him. Look at our defensive lineman on the ground again. We just talked about it with Fabian Lovett. He's getting chop blocked. I mean,
they're on the ground and there's one Louisville guy getting in the way of 3 Florida State defenders on a 2nd and 10 when they are backed up in their own end zone where you could try to squeeze some momentum out of the game. This is soft football. That is soft.
Watch
Kevin,
them catch this guy, dude. Watch them catch him. They see him. They're like, oh, this guy's running right at me. I better get on my heels and let him run through me for another 4 yards, right? I guess.
That you're right. We're always the one getting speared. We are always the absorbers of contact. We are not.
Watch.
It's not conflict meaning conflict.
At the 11-yard line. Where does he get down?
I think like the 17.
Yeah, the 16. He got at least 5 to 6 yards after contact, and it was 1 versus 3.
That's it. That's the microcosm of our defense right there. There's scheme, there's personnel, there's this, there's that, but that inability or just the confusion or the disdain for contact. They're not laying damage into people. They're always getting hit. They're never doing the hitting. And I know it's stupid and I know it's simple, and this is a smart show, and I have two smart guys to say smart things to break down film in an intelligent way. But 3-on-1, you get hit in the chest and you fly 6 yards back like you got hit with like a Liu Kang fireball from Mortal Kombat. That's awful. It's awful.
It is. It's just sad to continue to see. And again, like I posed the question a little bit ago, like, is this Adam Fuller's fault? What is this? I mean,
yeah.
First two plays of the game defensively, they flew around, they were hitting people. I mean, they were in the right positions. Third play is the long play to Atwell, then a touchdown, then another touchdown, and it's just like we just decided, okay, we don't trust it again, and
yeah, we suck again. Business as usual.
It's just so concerning to see that you can regress back to that mindset that fast after having some success last week.
Kev, would you choose, and I don't know that this is the binary right now, or a smaller physical stature defense that attacks run fits aggressively, kind of like that North Carolina personnel scheme? Or is it one of those things where we're playing a heavy, like you'd rather have this personnel group be as good as it can be and play them out there when the situation calls for it?
I'm a big proponent of the spread offense. I think that it's going to be just more and more prevalent as time goes on. I think you need to be running nickel. I think you need to just take the L. I haven't seen a linebacker in the interior that I feel like would be a huge loss if we put a safety there.
Right. Okay. Fair.
So
having this one guy not on the field to play with the way our guys play is not as big of a concern as to run the personnel kind of scheme that the whole entire unit's more comfortable with. That's fair.
Especially
Adam,
like when you have Gainer out at Sam, it's like teams can take advantage of that. You know, they know.
It's shown that muddies everything with run reads for this team for whatever reason.
It does, yeah. Everybody, that extra guy there, everybody's confused about what their job's supposed to be. Now, obviously, that's on coaching as well, but I'm with you, man. I kind of feel, and Adam, like Kev made his point known. Personally, I think I would play the nickel and then rotate a kid who's an athlete who's got some explosion like an Amari Gainer as like transition and more to like a pass rushing disruptor guy and let him get his 10 to 20 snaps a game or whatever more if he continues to do good. And just, I'd say I kind of want to see more nickel. What do you think, Adam? Do you agree?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, I think this comes back to a big picture. Look, J-Rob's a nice guy and all, but his time at Florida State's coming to an end, and you're playing for wins. You obviously want to win every game, but you're playing for the future here.
Sure.
I mean, I think I would take my lumps with Gainer there at the Fox position and at least see what he can do, see what you have. Like right now, you were rotating J-Rob and Leonard Warner there last weekend.
I don't get the Warner. Yeah,
I
don't know why Warner was doing the pass. Like, I guess they have some sort of. I don't know if they have an obligation to get him to see the field, but I didn't get it. I didn't see anything from him at that spot on Saturday.
I don't know. It boggles my mind. But that would probably be my first move. Maybe Gainer doesn't want to play defensive end. Maybe he said, "Nope, I'm not doing it. I don't want." We don't know those.
Fair.
Kind of behind the scenes things. So I want to throw that caveat in there. But that would probably be my first move, was putting him at the Fox and just see what you can do. And yeah, I mean, I think you need to live in the 4-2-5, the nickel look.
Okay.
I just think it's best for what the long-term goals of this program are going to be, this defense are going to be. I mean, Clemson runs a 3-2-6 every game. I mean, you need to get athletes on the field and send guys from multiple angles and platforms and just be dynamic. And Fuller's talked about being having an offensive mindset on defense, and he's been nothing but he hasn't been that thus far, and it's been concerning.
Right, and the players are passive as well, so that's interesting. Something to keep an eye on when we look at like personnel splits as the season goes on.
Yep.
But yeah, it's also kind of tough to like. It's so enigmatic, right? They play better with more secondary on the field, and the secondary in this game suck at tackling and like hate contact. It doesn't make any sense. But the whole team defends the run better when they're in the nickel look.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'd kill a drifter for Hamza Nasruddin right now.
Oh, me too.
I didn't know. I miss him so much, dude. I miss him so much.
I do think him in the game cleans up just so much. Like,
all right, Adam, describe what's this stuff.
Let's move on to the offense.
So this is a little run play of Florida State's. Are we playing here? Are we running it here?
Yeah.
There we go. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. Let it run. There we go. Yeah, so this is just outside zone for Florida State, and look at that. Look at the run through. Look at the run through. But one of the reasons I chose this was the lack of threat of Jordan Travis in this game. You saw. You got an opportunity to see how it just impacts everything in the run game. I mean, they I don't think Louisville was going to let him run. They were keeping a guy on him backside all game long. They ran more of like a 3-3 this game, which kind of blew me away. But yeah, you see how they are trading off here. The one kid's running, he's chasing the ball carrier down backside, and that stack backer is just squatting on Travis. So
yeah, and this is deep in the game too, where Travis is not shown. I guess you could say like an inability to run, but a lack of threat without the run, minus the first touchdown that he got. So obviously they're triggering more on this type of stuff as well. And
Lucas just whiffs. He whiffs on this kid. He doesn't see him coming behind him.
So I have a question. So for me, the big thing is, who is this? Dante Lucas here?
Yeah.
Is he supposed to be climbing that fast? And so. Sorry, I'm going to define that word. So climbing means here he's on line with the line of scrimmage, but you quickly see him moving upfield. And usually on outside zone, you see the linemen kind of stay lateral and kind of wait for that threat. So is it odd to see him climb that fast on outside zone? I'm not sure.
I mean, I think he's a little quick. I think he's actually probably on a decent track.
Okay.
What happens is back so you should have your center up on that mic. You should have your guard overtaking the nose tackle. Like these are all things that should kind of be going on, and we see Louisville do it really well.
Yeah, our arms extended, conflict into our offensive linemen, pushing them back, able to kind of like obviously this is a team that defends outside zone all the time. Got the hands extended. Pressure, ready to defend the running back, whichever hole that he chooses, and the linebacker just like he said, he just eats his lunch right there. There's nothing that the running back can do.
It's just a difference in two teams here running outside
stark.
zone.
This is stark. This is a stark difference.
And it's a defense that's finding some confidence on the other side. And look, I mean, we talked about how Louisville's running back against 3 defenders for Florida State gains an extra 5 yards. Our guy goes down in his tracks here, and this is a good tackle. Like it's not anything against the running back for Florida State. I mean, it's just
he's dead. Now before Kev, I'm gonna get you for just some extra thoughts here. Louisville's defense played this much better than Florida State's defense did. Louisville's defense coming into this game is the 99th rated defense in the country per S&P Plus. So this is not a good defense. They played this well, and they played well against us, but they are not a good defense. They only allowed 12 to Notre Dame. That game is an aberration. There was like 30-mile-an-hour winds. Notre Dame only scored 12. Louisville only scored 7. So like you said, like you tip your cap to the defense a little bit, but this defense has sucked all year. So maybe they're turning a corner like we did when we inserted Jordan Travis for our offense, but didn't have a lot of production against a not very good defense. And that just shows you maybe this offense's like potency is more dependent on the wheels of Jordan Travis than maybe we even thought, particularly when you can't hurt them in the passing game because your receivers have feet for hands.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me pull up.
Give me something.
Let's look at that.
All right, Kev. So we were talking about wide receiver drops, and once again, an unintentional fun segue. New quarterback alert, Adam. We'll get to your thoughts here in a second. We'll talk a little little Chubbs action. But Kevin, break it down, because my man had the most interesting 0-for-9 debut in the history of college football.
Yeah, so this is, I believe, a 4 verticals kind of concept. You see this guy kind of crossing in the middle, and then you got verts all the way. He finds a little gap right here. This is actually a really good throw, probably probably Chubba's best throw
Yeah.
of the night out of all of his incompletions. And
Watch it.
The stat line doesn't tell the story, man. You got to watch. It's the weirdest 0 for 9 I've ever seen.
Look, he made some good throws. He made some not so good throws. What you expect from a freshman. And he makes a good throw here. And, our sophomore wide receiver, someone who's gotten a lot of love.
Oh, God. Kelton
the easiest pass,
he had such a bad game. I think, Wilson had that drop that turned into the weirdo interception, but Helton was just terrible.
That reminded me of middle school football. That was the middle school.
Like,
gross. When I saw that, I was like,
gross.
oh, my gosh. It went through your hands, bounced off your helmet, was an interception. That
was so stupid.
Helton had the 3rd and 22 when it was 14-7, and you're driving.
May have been. I think you said, Adam, may have been the biggest moment of the game.
I think it was the catalyst to the blowout, in my opinion. That was a point where the defense. I feel like they've always been able to say, okay, offense is going to keep with it. They're going to keep up and score some. At least I feel like they've gotten that mindset over the last couple of weeks. That I thought was just the knife and or the nail in the coffin for everybody. You just kind of saw the dejection, and Jordan Travis talked about it after the game that the energy and the disbelief kind of seeped back into their minds as the game was being played out. And I thought that was a big point.
Kevin, how did as far as the ball coming out, obviously Chubba Purdy is not the runner that Jordan Travis is. As far as speed, he's a pretty speedy kid. He's a pretty big kid. He's definitely not as elusive and like a natural, just is like a fluid runner as Jordan Travis. But in my opinion, I think you can tell the difference in ball speed like immediately. Like when the ball gets on a person, there were some longer throws that Jordan Travis was making to the field side that I took. It felt like they took a longer time to get there. I think that the difference in the arm level of these two quarterbacks was apparent rather quickly to me. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, you have to agree. Chubba's got a better arm.
Good. That makes me feel. Look at him. He's smiling.
He's got a stronger arm.
Okay. Yeah. Very. That's good.
I would say that his arm isn't any better or worse than Tate's arm is, but he definitely has more athleticism than Tate. I like Tate as a thrower, but like 4 years from now.
Highly developmental.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's a good throw. It opens up the playbook for Norvell. I think you're going to see a lot less reads that you saw in the playbook for Jordan Travis. Then he's just a different kind of runner. You're more likely to see like that kind of QB draw style, more power runs.
Yeah, with the running back like leading through the hole and stuff like that, like designed quarterback runs.
Right. You probably won't see any of that like triple option with Chubba. You might see a little bit of it, but I think you'd see less of it than you see out of Jordan Travis. But he opens up the playbook, and Norvell calls a lot of deep passes. Norvell isn't one that's going to want to nickel and dime you. He's probably the only coach I've seen this whole year not call mesh at some point in the season. So which is an air raid style play. It was invented by the air raid. That's
Al Mummy, Mike Leach forever. So mesh, just the route concepts on that, just for the people that don't know.
So I'll draw it on this play, even though it doesn't happen here. Basically, you just have two crossers in the middle of the field. So they run off anybody playing man, and they'll settle in any zone. So
what Louisville ran earlier and scored on that long touchdown.
Yeah, they ran it, and our guys were confused on who had man responsibilities.
Usually a good man beater type thing. Mike Leach ran it to death against LSU.
Good, 2nd and 10 play where you can just get 5 yards and make it an interesting 3rd down or whatever. And
we don't run it.
He doesn't run it. So a strong arm quarterback like Chubba might really open up the playbook and make him feel more comfortable throw the ball on 1st and 2nd down.
Now, Adam, I'm going to give you some time. I feel weird phrasing the question like this because Jordan Travis has done nothing but put this team and this offense on his back since he's been in. He's made the right reads. He's made plays that are exceptional, extraordinary with his legs, and he's been tough. Shoe leather tough. Tough as a Converse Chuck Taylor All-Star. He's tough. But are his days as the starting quarterback at Florida State numbered, in your opinion? With the bye week coming up, with the ability to go vertical, which we know that Mike Norvell prefers, are Jordan Travis's days as the starting quarterback at Florida State numbered, in your opinion? I'll let you go first, and then Kevin.
First off, I just want to start off with Chubba had the most hype over 9 day I've ever seen any quarterback ever have.
That's saying a lot there. AB.
It was very interesting to watch. I want to
7 drops, right? About 7.
Yeah, I think it was 6 or 7 drops. 4 of which were by Kentron Poitier. It was tough game for him. I thought Chubba. I want to critique him just a little bit since I didn't get the opportunity. I thought he was a little elongated with his motion, and the ball came out late a couple times, which is concerning. But you're going to get that with a freshman. They just need to continue to work on that. As for Jordan, I don't know. This is going to be a tough decision for them to make. They really have to sit down, and I think it's all going to come back to the whole standard is the standard. Nonsense, where you've got to decide, okay, is one outworking the other in practice? If yes, then you start the one that's working the hardest, because that's where you're trying to build your foundation in your program around. If they're both similar, which you probably would like to believe that they are, and I think that they probably both are working hard based on Mike's comments, then I think you got to look at who's going to give your offense the best opportunity to be successful throughout the course of a game and in all situations that a game can present. Jordan threw 30 times or something the other day, and I mean, you can't work the field vertically with him. It is what it is. We've certainly been advocates of his and fans of his and have liked what he's done, but he's not a kid that can push the ball down the field. So you're going to have to try to find that, because there are going to be games with this freaking defense where you're going to have to throw the football 30 times a game and be able to push the ball. And I know this offensive line is not built for it, but you're seeing them play with more confidence and be able to hold up, and you are still seeing the running game evolve into something that can be successful. I mean, they ran for 200 plus yards against Louisville still, without Jordan running the football at all. He had some scrambles, but nothing designed. So I think you've got to look at, they're really going to have to do their diligence this next week with the bye, and then going into Pitt of that battle playing itself out with Chubba and Jordan. And I ultimately think it's time to make the move to Chubba, just because he's clearly the more talented player, and clearly your future for right now. What's on your roster? Who knows with Luke Altmaier? But I think it's time. I think you need to take that step.
Kev?
Yeah. So I think the decision isn't as easy and as cut and dry as we'd like to think it is. It's not like Jordan Travis is some old guy that's a senior. This isn't his last year. He's still got, with all the new guidelines and stuff, he's still got like 4 years on campus. So if he's the better option, you have to run with him. I'm personally of the opinion that if we can get Altmaier in, I think he's the quarterback of the future. I think you might this is going to sound gross coming out of my mouth, but I think it's going to almost look like a Chris Leak, Tim Tebow kind of feel.
A little dual quarterback system.
If you get Altmaier in and you can hold on to Chubba, but seeing as it's 2020 and quarterbacks will transfer away in 3.5 seconds, if you feel like Chubba is your guy, then you run with him. Like, we're 2-4. I don't think you worry about. I used to be on the train of like, oh, what if you ruin him earlier this year? At this point, I think Norvell is recruiting well enough that if you're bringing in a quarterback every year, you can risk ruining a kid for the hopes that the experience will sharpen whoever you feel like is right. So I personally think Jordan Travis still has some to give. I think that you're not going to see the escapability out of Chubba that you see out of Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis makes he makes these plays where you're like, oh, this is going to be a sack on third down, and he gets out and he gets a first down. And while I think Chubba's probably going to beat him in a foot race, Chubba's just a bigger guy, and that's going to be harder, and he's a freshman, and his thought's going to be half a step slower. So if you're still trying to win games right now with our offensive line still being slightly below average, or marginally below average, wherever you want to look at it, I think Jordan Travis still might be the better option right now. But I think if it's even close enough to call, you run with the freshman, because it tells the other freshmen, hey, you're my guys. I brought you in here. You're the ones I want to run with. And I think it's a hard decision, but you just do whatever you feel like benefits you 3 years from now instead of 1 year from now.
And I think that's fair. And I think one thing that you have to look about is what's really the wins above replacement right now between Jordan Travis and Chubba Purdy. I do agree with you, Kevin. There's so many times on like a 3rd and 7 where he'll just do like a scramble that should be a sack and get 9 yards, and that lets drives continue to go and elongates possessions. That's something that Jordan Travis can do that Chubba Purdy probably can do a little bit, but not to the extent. Jordan Travis he's just a natural. He's a natural running back.
But right now he's been injured, and you haven't had that.
Exactly. So I think, like I said, I'm with you. I think it's a tough decision. I do ultimately feel that by the last game of the season, I think Chubba Purdy is going to be the starting quarterback.
I agree.
And injury might make that decision for you. If it doesn't, I think that naturally, I think it's just going to end up migrating towards Chubba anyway. Even if that does happen, let's just say, like Adam says, like would they install all the vertical concepts that they've been missing during the bye week, and let's say Chubba Purdy's your starting quarterback for Florida State's next game. I think you see Jordan Travis worked into the game. They were doing that anyway when James Blackman was the starting quarterback at the beginning of the year. Jordan Travis is going to contribute on this team in some form or fashion. He's too good of an athlete not to. So I do feel that progression will happen naturally. I don't know if it's going to be as sudden as maybe some fans want, but I've been surprised, man. Quarterbacks in college and the pros, the leash is short and they'll throw you in. And like you said, Kevin, you can question Mike Norvell's recruiting at other spots right now, and that's a whole separate conversation in and of itself. But I don't think you can question it quarterback. The guy gets quarterbacks, he talks to quarterbacks, and the guys he recruits are extremely talented. So we'll see. So that was the Louisville game. The good, the bad, the Chubba, a whole bunch of bad. A lot of bad. To me, like I said, I think it's the most disappointing game of the entire season for Florida State. I am interested to see how they go from here, both from a team mindset, from a like what's even the roster going to look like? Will you have a mass exodus of transfers? I know you saw Cyrus Fagan leave a couple of weeks ago. Are some of the other guys that we tell you that are not good on film, are they going to get the idea? Are they going to stick around? I don't know. I'm going to let you guys say your piece. Like I said, maybe we thought UNC was the turning point of the season, but maybe after this Louisville game, as far as which direction the team's going to go, maybe this is actually that inflection point that we talked about. But Kev first, then Adam. I'm going to let you guys say your piece, then I'll wrap it up and we'll get out of here.
You see it all the time in sports. Teams get blown out by teams that have no business blowing them out. Teams lose to teams that they shouldn't lose to. If you want to play the game of like, oh, we lost to Louisville by 30 and they beat whoever by whatever, that's not how sports work. Florida State gave up on this game. Florida State didn't show up. They didn't have the heart to play throughout this game. And that's a cultural thing. That's something that's in the minds of these kids. And either that gets fixed and they play better because we know they can, or it doesn't. And it's a big old red flag. But as of now, it's not the end of the world. It sucks. I don't expect this to be the same team that shows up against Pitt. But if it is, we got to start asking some really big questions.
I like that. Like you said, progression's kind of weird. I mean, as long as you're trending up, that's fine. But this is a serious couple steps back. So yeah, I agree. If this is the same team that shows up against Pitt after the bye week, we're going to be talking coaching a lot more than we do now. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, I think that we're going to be riding this ebbs and flow roller coaster all year long, no matter what. we've talked about the culture rot, and it's prevalent. It's clearly prevalent, and it's not going away. And I still don't know how much of that I want to place at the feet of Mike Norvell, because we've certainly heard things coming from the backgrounds of him challenging guys and letting guys know, like, hey, if you don't want to be here, or you don't want to work, get out. So we know that he's trying to take a hard stance in the background with this program. I think that I just think you're going to continue to ride this roller coaster of emotions with this team until the season's gone, and you get some of these promise note guys out of here. You still have a handful of guys that were forced to sign a promise note for Jimbo Fisher that are playing minutes for you. So, I mean, at some point, your two transition classes, your promise note guys, at some point, man, your roster is what it is. And I agree. If we continue to see this lack of buy-in, then we need to have that conversation. But I don't feel like we're going to be able to judge anything from this year. Good win against UNC, crap loss against Louisville. We're not telling until this junk gets out of here and gets off this roster, and they get some guys in that love playing the game of football. It was a frustrating Saturday. God, it sucked. But
you're riding the roller coaster with
the
team. And I hope you're riding the triple option roller coaster some more. We're going to be here every week. Hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing. In my opinion, the best combination of intelligence, of nuance, of analysis, of facial hair, of hairshell hair, of boyish good looks with Kevin Little. Just, you got it all. It's the triple option, but it's a triple threat, and it's really a total package. So we're going to be here every week. We're going to keep you covered during the bye week. We're going to keep you sane. We're going to show up every week, going to break down the film in only the way that me and the Holy Triumvirate can. Head over to Tomahawk Nation. Adam does some great stuff, breaking down some concepts on Whiteboard Wednesday. Kev, X's and Knowles YouTube. Subscribe to this YouTube page. You subscribe to this YouTube page.
Follow us on Twitter.
Look at Vane. You subscribe to this YouTube page and turn on notifications. Turn on notification bell so you can be the first to see it. And then go over to Tomahawk Nation and read all their articles. Kevin does great videos on that YouTube page that are posted on Tomahawk Nation. But listen, guys, once again, the best only gets better. I thought this was the worst game of the season, but I think it was our best episode. So there's that. But anyway, I am Trey Rowland. I am here with the Coach AB, Coach Adam Brown. I'm here with the Video Vice Lord, Kevin Little, a.k.a. X's and Knowles. This was the triple option. You got the full triple option experience. Go Knowles. It's going to get better.
Has to.